Hello, and thank you for selecting this video. My name is Dr. Erdem, and today I want to talk about the individual oral component of English language and literature and English literature. Although today's video is primarily intended for students who might be struggling with their IO, all levels of students will be sure to find something beneficial from it. In this video, I'm going to specifically address the role of the global issue and how to make sure your analysis ties to it. This will stop you from potentially losing focus and losing marks as a result. However, before we get into all that, I want to give a brief description of what is expected of you within the IO. Since English language and English literature are similar in the way these tasks are approached, I have decided to address them both in this video. For English language and literature, they ask you to explore how a global issue is presented in both the literary work and the non-literary body of work, such as a collection of advertisement speeches, editorials, or a visual text like a political cartoon or news report. You will be expected to choose an extract from each of these texts and deliver a 10-minute oral that analyzes how each author or creator represents the global issue through stylistic and structural choices. For English literature, the IO is structured almost identically, except that you're analyzing two literary works instead. These could be two novels, plays, or collections of poetry or short stories studied in class. However, one must be in English and the other a translation. The key is to compare how both texts engage with your chosen global issue. In both cases, you're expected to deliver a well-structured analytical presentation lasting around 10 minutes, followed by a 5-minute question and answer section with your teacher. The assessment is internally marked and externally moderated. Now that we have established what an IO is, we can talk about the global issue and how you can be sure to connect your analysis to it properly in your IO. Briefly, a global issue is a short sentence that reflects a problem or idea that can be seen across many different cultures and time periods. In other words, it shouldn't just be a statement that's true in a single text, it should also be something that resonates beyond it. For example, consider the following passage from the beginning of chapter 2 of F. Scott Fitzgerald's The Great Gatsby. Take a few moments to pause the video and read the extract, or you can look it up online. As you have read, this is an extract that offers many options for potential global issues. For instance, we can see an industrial wasteland filled with ash-grey men who have both been enveloped by their horrible, bleak, and lifeless environment. These workers are seemingly stripped of their individuality, almost like ghosts. On the other hand, there are also the eyes of Dr. T.J. Eckelberg, acting symbolically almost as the eyes of God, a reflection of how a higher power has abandoned humanity. We won't go into how we can create multiple global issues today, but I think the dehumanizing effects of capitalism can work for our purposes, and fits nicely with our extract here. The global issue also fits all of the criteria I mentioned earlier. With that done, we can now analyze a few lines and connect them to our global issue. I really like these two lines here. Let's use them as examples. To answer the first line, I love the juxtaposition between the idea of ashes and the use of natural imagery. This creates a sense of irony, as the fantastic farm provides a sense of growth and abundance, but what is actually producing are the ashes. The simile of ashes growing like wheat further builds on this idea, creating a feeling of grotesque productivity, while this harsh, lifeless ash is all that is produced instead of life-giving crops. So all this analysis is well and good, but now we actually have to tie it to our global issue. We can say that by using natural imagery in this distorted way, Fitzgerald critiques how capitalist industry has devalued both the land and the lives of the people who work on it. Ashes, rather than wheat, become the symbol of human output. Now, let's look at the second line. Here, the symbolic eyes of Dr. T.J. Eckelberg are described as dim and faded. Once intended to promote a product, optometry, they now brood over the valley like a failed god. The solemn dumping ground reinforces the idea that this is a site of waste, not just industrial waste, but a waste of humanity, lives spent, bodies used up and discarded by the capitalist machine. By describing the billboard in spiritual or even divine terms, Fitzgerald hints at a loss of moral compass. There is no real oversight, no accountability, only the faded echo of one. This furthers the global issue by suggesting that capitalism doesn't just dehumanize individual, it also erodes deeper systems of meaning and value, leaving behind a world watched only by the indifferent eyes of a forgotten advertisement. Notice how I didn't just list out a bunch of techniques or simply retold the story. Instead, I focused on the meaning behind the author's words and how they connect to the global issue. With that in mind, I want to quickly show you what you don't want to do. Let's take this line from the extract. While this line has a beautiful demonstration of personification, with the cars lacking a clear road and the use of auditory imagery providing a haunting atmosphere, in isolation, it does little to further argue your global issue. As such, this line might be best excluded, unless of course you can find a way to connect it clearly to your global issue. To sum up, your individual oral isn't just about identifying literary or stylistic devices, it's about using those devices as tools to build a focused argument about a global issue. You need to move beyond technique spotting and aim for meaningful interpretation. Your goal is to demonstrate how the authors or creators of your chosen text use choices like structure, style, and imagery to say something significant about the world. Start with a clear global issue, one that's genuinely present in both texts, and keep it in focus throughout your analysis. Ask yourself, how does this line, this word choice, this image build on or complicate the global issue? If it doesn't help your argument, you can probably leave it out. And remember, this task is as much about thinking as it is about speaking. So practice shaping your thoughts clearly and making them easy for your teacher and ultimately the moderator to follow. And thank you for watching. If you have found this video useful, please consider liking and subscribing for more support with your IB English journey. And also please do not hesitate to contact us at CANA Elite for more information or private tutoring. Happy learning!